good afternoon. This is Globe File on Adami Mogo 93.1 FM Lagos. I'm Ayo Adekeye. The headlines. Tinubu rules out return of fuel subsidies despite economic concerns. Tension rise as Saudi Arabia warns neighbors over Sudan attack. US-Iran near memorandum as peace efforts gain momentum. And now the news in detail. We'll begin from Nigeria, where the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Ayo Adekeye, has insisted that the presidency will not bring back fuel subsidies following widespread clamour over the effect of its removal on the cost of living. The minister made the statement in France as he and President Bola Tinubu met with global investors. Adekeye noted that subsidies created economic distortions, adding that the prices of petrol would not be controlled because the presidency believes the market is capable of regulating itself.
And we also were able to get insights about the excitement that they continue to have about the running of the economy, the reforms, and the fact that we're able to give them the commitment, including Mr. President himself, about what we will not do. For example, we will not bring back subsidy because it creates distortion for the economy, and we will not introduce price control because we believe in markets, while at the same time ensuring that regulation is responsible so that there's no supplier, trader, manufacturer taking advantage of the Nigerian people.
The president also told investors that removal of fuel subsidies created transparency and fiscal discipline, explaining that that's the rationale for the swift implementation of bold reforms. And now to South Africa, where police in KwaZulu-Natal have launched a search for suspects after cocaine valued at about 30 million rand was seized during an intelligence-driven operation at the Durban Harbour. The drugs were recovered on Tuesday after a coordinating operation involving Durban Operational Response Services and the Serious Organized Crime Investigation Unit. According to police spokesperson Colonel Robert Nasunda, a separate drug recovery in Gauteng in April pointed investigators to the possibility that narcotics were entering the country through the busy port. Acting on the intelligence, officers discovered 32 blocks of suspected cocaine concealed inside the air conditioner compartment of a bus. Nasunda said no arrests have been made and investigations are ongoing to identify those responsible for the shipment and its intended recipients. And now, Saudi Ministry of Foreign Affairs has condemned the attack on Khartoum International Airport and called on neighboring countries to prevent their territories from being used to launch attacks on Sudan. The statement came after Ethiopia denied accusation by Sudanese officials that it was involved in the recent strike on Khartoum Airport. Sudan's foreign ministry had recalled its ambassador from Ethiopia for consultations, saying it possessed evidence linking Ethiopia territory to recent attacks, including strikes on civilian sites in Khartoum. Saudi Arabia, however, called on Sudan's neighboring states to respect the country's sovereignty and independence and ensure their territories are not used as basis for attacks. In a separate development, China says Eswatini's leaders were being kept and fed by Taiwan, using unusually strong language to condemn the small Southern African kingdom for hosting President Lai Ching-te. China and Taiwan have long traded accusations over dollar diplomacy to win support from developing countries. Beijing's latest criticism came after Lai returned home on Tuesday from a surprise trip to the former Swaziland, one of just 12 countries with formal diplomatic ties to the democratically governed island claimed by China. Lai's government said China had forced Seychelles, Mauritius, and Madagascar to deny overflight permission for his aircraft when he first planned to go last month, a claim China denied. You're listening to Globe File on Adami Mogo 93.1 FM Lagos. Still to come, US-Iran near memorandum as peace efforts gain momentum.
to Adami Mogo 93.1 FM from any part of the world. Download the Adami Mogo 931 FM app from Google Play Store and Radio Garden, and follow us on Adami Mogo 93.1 FM on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you have eyewitness stories going exclusive to share, contact the Adami Mogo FM newsroom via mail at newsroom@adamimogofm.com, or you can dial 070-634-03583. You can dial 090-319-69629. Adami Mogo 93.1 FM Lagos, voice of the light.
Thank you for staying with us, and now to the rest of our stories. The United States and Iran are nearing agreement on a one-page memorandum aimed at ending their conflict, and this is according to a Pakistani source involved in the peace efforts. The source said there are indications that the deal will close very soon, especially after Trump announced a pause to the Project Freedom efforts. Earlier, Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif expressed optimism about the escalation efforts, thanking President Trump for pausing Project Freedom in the Strait of Hormuz. Sharif added that he was hopeful the current momentum would lead to a lasting agreement, assuring long-term peace and stability in the region and beyond. Separately, reports also suggest that the White House believes it is close to finalizing a one-page memorandum of understanding with Iran. In the meantime, Iran has said it would only accept a fair and comprehensive agreement in its ongoing negotiations with the U.S. to end the war in the Middle East. The country's foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, made a statement today in Beijing following a meeting with China's top diplomat, Wang Yi. He emphasized that Tehran would not agree to any deal that falls short of its conditions. His comments came as U.S. President Donald Trump claimed there had been great progress in the negotiations. Earlier, Trump said in a social media post that both sides had agreed to temporarily pause Project Freedom while keeping the blockade fully in place in order to allow time for a potential agreement to be finalized. Araghchi did not directly respond to Trump's remarks, and the White House has not commented on the extent of the reported progress or how long the pause would last. Elsewhere, Ukraine has accused Russia of violating a unilateral ceasefire called by attacking Ukraine's cities overnight with more than 100 combat drones and 3 missiles. According to reports, just hours before Kyiv's proposed ceasefire came into effect at midnight, strikes were recorded across eastern Ukraine late on Tuesday night. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha on social media said Russia launched 108 combat drones, killing at least 27 people and dozens more injured. Meanwhile, before its unilateral ceasefire came into effect at midnight, Ukraine also responded by launching their own F-5 Flamingo cruise missiles at targets, including military-industrial complex facilities in Cheboksary. And now to sports, where Arsenal will contest the Champions League final for the first time in 20 years after a 1-0 victory over Atletico Madrid. Mikel Arteta's side advanced to the final thanks to a 2-1 aggregate victory and will face either Bayern Munich or Paris Saint-Germain in the final in Budapest on Saturday, May 30. Saka's goal ensured he became the first Arsenal player to score in 2 different semi-finals in the UEFA Champions League following his strike at the Parc des Princes 12 months ago.
Lifting to the back post, and Trossard deliberates. Trossard, saved from the back, and Saka follows in. And Arsenal have the breakthrough in this second leg on the stroke of halftime. He's back fit, and he's back as the star man for Arsenal, Bukayo Saka. Oh, how they missed him. And he might just have sent Arsenal a giant step closer to the UEFA Champions League final.
The win means Arsenal have gone 14 consecutive Champions League games unbeaten for the first time in their history. to entertainment, where Jimmy Kimmel has continued to call out President Trump on his late-night show, slamming the president for promoting an expensive ballroom and reinstatement of his fitness test in public schools. Unpacking the finance, Kimmel explained that Trump originally put the price tag at $200 million for exclusive private donors, which then doubled to $400 million for those same donors. He also faulted actions by the Republicans in the Senate, who pushed a bill that would allocate $1 billion of taxpayer money to go toward the ballroom project.
Maybe next year they can have the Met Gala at the White House ballroom. You know, I don't know what it is with Trump in this ballroom. Yesterday, Republicans in the Senate pushed a bill that would allocate $1 billion of taxpayer money to go toward this project. According to the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, the money would be used for security features only, not for the ballroom itself. And the White House, of course, disagrees with that. After saying he and his teeth sucklers would pay for it personally, Team Trump now wants us to foot the bill, which is now 5 times what he said it would be. $1 billion for a ballroom.
The talk show host and President Trump have been on each other's neck over differences on government agenda and policies. And just before we bring Globe File to an end, here's a recap of the biggest stories. We told you the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Ayo Adekeye, has insisted that the presidency will not bring back fuel subsidy following widespread clamour over the effects of the removal on the cost of living. Saudi Ministry of Foreign Affairs condemned the attacks on Khartoum International Airport and called on neighboring countries to prevent their territories from being used to launch attacks against Sudan. Finally, it was in the news that the US and Iran are nearing agreement on a one-page memorandum aimed at ending their conflict, and this is according to Pakistani source involved in the peace effort. That's Globe File. Join us at 2 o'clock for more stories on the briefing on Adami Mogo 93.1 FM Lagos.